Level 1, Civilian Screening Candidate. You sit under bright white lights, answering questions that don't make sense, not about skills, not about experience, about fear, about endurance, about how long you can function without sleep. Real military research programs have done this before, screening civilians for controlled testing environments 5, especially during early research phases and endurance studies. They measure your heart rate while you talk, your stress spikes, get logged, every hesitation recorded. You try to sound confident, but they're not looking for confidence, they're looking for tolerance. How far you can go before something breaks. You walk out thinking you passed, but deep down, something feels off. They weren't asking what you can do, they were asking what you can survive. Level 2, Controlled Environment Test Subject. You're standing behind reinforced glass, thick enough to distort the room. Beyond it, they tell you to stay still. A countdown starts, you don't see the source, but you feel it. A deep pressure hits your chest, then the sound follows, delayed, heavy. Real-world weapons testing often begins like this: controlled environments, remote monitoring, layered safety systems. Everything designed to minimize risk on paper. You look around, cameras everywhere, sensors tracking everything your body does. You realize something, they're not watching the weapon. They're watching you, and suddenly, the glass doesn't feel as safe as it should. You safe as long as nothing fails. Level 3, Protective Gear Exposure Trials. They seal you into a suit, thick material, heavy, mask, air supply humming softly. You can barely hear your own breathing. Time stretches, minutes feel longer. Then conditions start to change, temperature shifts, air pressure adjusts. You don't know what's being tested, only that the suit is between you and it. Military personnel routinely test protective gear, chemical suits, respirators, full body systems under stress. You try to trust it because that's the point. Trust the system, trust the design, but your visor starts to fog. Your breathing gets heavier, and for a moment, you wonder what happens if it fails. You trust the gear because you have no choice. Level 4, Close Proximity Weapons Testing. They move you closer, this time no glass wall, just distance markers on the ground. You stand at one of them, they say it's within safe exposure limits. The countdown begins again, this time you feel it instantly. The blast hits your body, not enough to knock you down, but enough to remind you. This is real. Shockwave testing is measured in controlled distances, pressure, sound, impact. All carefully calculated, but your body doesn't care about calculations. Your chest tightens, your ears ring. You step back instinctively. But they tell you to hold position, and you do because you signed the contract, because you said you could handle it. This isn't observation anymore. You're part of the data. Level 5, Field Simulation Participant. Now they take you outside, or what looks like outside. A constructed environment, buildings, vehicles, smoke drifting through the air. Military training and testing often use simulated battlefields, designed to mimic real-world chaos. You're given simple instructions. Move from point A to point B, that's it, no explanation. As you move, things happen, loud noises, flashes, unpredictable disruptions. You don't know what's part of the test and what isn't. Your instincts take over, you stop thinking. You just react, because hesitation feels dangerous even if it's just a simulation, or maybe it isn't. You stop asking what's real, you just react. Level 6, Experimental Systems Exposure. They stop explaining things now, briefings get shorter, answers get vague. This system shouldn't cause harm. That's what they tell you shouldn't. New technologies are tested in phases, often starting with controlled exposure before wider deployment. You stand in position, no visible weapon, no clear source, just a signal, something activates. You feel it before you understand it. A strange sensation, not pain, not pressure, something unfamiliar. Your body reacts anyway. Your mind tries to catch up, but no one explains, no one reassures. And that word stays in your head, shouldn't. Shouldn't is the word that keeps you awake. Level 7, Classified Risk Tier Operations. Your clearance increases, but your information decreases. You're told less but exposed more. Everything is compartmentalized, that's how high-risk programs operate. Need to know only and apparently. You don't need to know much. You notice changes, different personnel, different procedures, more security, less conversation. You start asking questions, but answers don't come, just instructions, short, direct, final. You realize something uncomfortable. They know exactly what's happening. You don't, and that gap is getting wider. The less they tell you, the more dangerous it gets. Level 8, data over human priority. Something goes wrong, not visibly, not dramatically, but you feel it. A test runs longer than expected. You signal discomfort, no response, just observation. Historically, military testing ethics changed after controversial programs, especially during the Cold War. When human exposure limits weren't always clear. Now, there are regulations, oversight, protocols. But in this moment, none of that feels real. Because the test doesn't stop. You're still inside, it's still part of it, and no one is stepping in. That's when it hits you, the test matters more than you do. Level 9, psychological degradation phase. You start hesitating, just slightly. Before every instruction, it's not fear, Anna Marie, it's something deeper, doubt. Your body is tired. Your mind even more. Long-term exposure to high-stress environments does this. It wears you down slowly, quietly. You think about leaving, walking out, ending it, but you don't. Because you've come this far. Because someone else will take your place. And part of you needs to know how far this goes. Stop believing them, but you didn't leave. Level 10, disposable asset realization. You notice the new candidate, not directly introduced. Just present, walking through the same halls. Sitting in the same rooms, answering the same questions. You recognize the look, curiosity, confidence, ignorance. Military systems are built on continuity. Replaceable roles, ongoing data collection. You were never meant to stay. Just to contribute a piece of the process. You finish your final session, no ceremony, no closure, just a quiet exit. And one final realization. You weren't recruited. You were temporary.